Hello, everyone, and welcome to Boston Balling. I'm your host, Gabby Hurlbut. Hope you're having a fantastic week. The weather's been absolutely gorgeous this week here in the Northeast. I mean, 65 degrees today is just unreal for sometimes this time of year because sometimes it's snowing in March. And March Madness right around the corner, opening day, you're right around the corner. Very exciting stuff going on here. As a Red Sox fan, I'm not sure how excited to actually be about this upcoming season, but definitely have talked a lot about that team extensively on my podcast. I actually have a special guest with me on the show today who actually played a spring training game against the Red Sox when they opened their spring training slate. He does play baseball at Northeastern. He's a catcher. Jimmy Sullivan, how are you doing today?
I'm good. Thank you for having me on.
Yeah, thank you so much for coming on. I know, my fiance Dave used to work with you on hitting, so it was funny because I was watching that Red Sox Northeastern game with him, and while you were at the plate, he was talking about like, oh yeah, he does this well and everything like that, and it was just so funny because he was getting into like coach mode and he was just watching you on the screen. It was so
Yeah,
funny.
I've known Dave since I was around 15, I want to say. So it's been a while, and he's helped me a lot. And it's funny that you say he was in telling me I did this well and this well because he actually texted me saying I did something wrong. So
That's so funny. That sounds like him. Yeah, he definitely is very into it and loves watching his former players go on to succeed and do big things. And I know for you, your baseball journey has been interesting. You actually started off at a different college. Is that right?
Mhm. Yeah, I started off. I played 2 years at UMass Lowell, um, and then transferred as a junior into Northeastern last season, and then this is my senior season right now.
That's so exciting. What made you decide to transfer?
It was a combination of things. I was looking for more of an opportunity academically and athletically, just an opportunity to play every day and really contribute to something. So I think that the decision worked out. This, playing in Northeastern is something that I'm really proud to say I'm able to do, and I think it helped me grow as a person and also as a player. So
Yeah, it's a great baseball program they have over there too. So definitely a good, spot for you to be in. And with the process of actually transferring, what does that look like? Like how soon into your sophomore year did you have to be like, okay, I'm going to transfer?
you can do it at any point. I decided to do it after our final game of the season. And then as far as like the actual process goes, it's kind of crazy how easy it is. Like you basically just alert the school and your coach that you want to transfer, and within like 24 hours, I think you're in the transfer portal. And then from there, it's just like free reign of people who can contact you or people you can contact, and just trying to look for an opportunity and get something that works for you or your situation. So yeah, it's kind of crazy how like it happens so fast. I mean, you make the decision, you're in, and then it's free reign from there.
That's kind of crazy, actually. Yeah, I would have thought there was a lot more of a process involved if you're an athlete and you're trying to transfer. But it's interesting that it kind of was an easy process and you were able to do it so seamlessly like that.
Yeah. I mean, the thing that bothered me the most with it is that like you hear like transfer portal and you're like, oh, there's probably like a profile or something. There's like nothing. So you just get in
That's what
there
I
and
thought.
the portal is not for like the players to look at. It's for the coaches. So like you can't, like, you have nothing, no say in like what they're looking at in there, and what they're learning about you from what they see. So
That's so interesting. Um, and yeah, for you, obviously, I know you grew up a Red Sox fan,
mhm.
which is awesome. You're a smart person for sure. It's being part of the correct fan base here. Did you grow up in Massachusetts or in Connecticut?
I grew up in Connecticut. My dad's from Massachusetts, and most of my family lives there. So that's where that connection comes from. Or Boston sports like Red Sox, Patriots, Celtics, Bruins. So
Yeah. Well, you're in the right place because my podcast covers all those teams. So definitely a good spot for you to be in. But that's awesome. So because you grew up a Red Sox fan, who were some of your favorite players growing up that you enjoyed watching?
I loved Jason Varitek, um, and I actually got to meet him uh, through the Red Sox game we played last uh, season. Talked to him for a couple of minutes. Um, and then David Ortiz as well is one of my favorites, and uh, kind of like a maybe a different one is I love watching John Lester pitch when I was younger, and especially like all those playoff games and stuff. So those three were probably like some of my big favorites.
Definitely all legends in Boston. Big
Yeah,
Poppy. I mean, I actually met him at Red Sox winter weekend this year, and that was pretty cool.
yeah, that's
Because
awesome.
obviously, like just a forever legend in Boston, and one of my
Hmm.
favorite players to ever play too. So that was a pretty cool experience, like a fangirl type of moment. But
Hmm.
Jason Varitek too. I mean, that must have been cool for you too because of the fact that he played the same position as you.
Yeah,
So and being able to, give you some advice from that standpoint is probably cool.
yeah. I mean, the Red Sox game in general is just really cool because you go down there and it's all like, who am I going to see? Who? Because you never know who you're going to see there. You could. My junior year, they played like basically the opening day lineup, and this year it was a lot more prospects and um, minor league guys or things like that. So you never know who you're going to see, but like the people you get to meet there and the opportunity you have just to like be around that environment, like was an awesome experience.
Oh yeah, I'm sure it was. Do you feel like that kind of was able to challenge you and be like, yeah, these
Mhm.
guys are, already making it at the professional level. Like this is pretty cool.
Yeah, I mean, like getting up, like just seeing them and like how they go about their business and like taking batting practice or ground balls or whatever they're deciding to do on that day. I mean, I think that it's really cool to just see how someone who's at the highest level like goes about their business and get to like actually be on the field with them and like get that view is pretty cool.
Yeah, I'm sure that's probably so awesome. Like I was like telling Dave too, I was like, this is probably such a cool experience for them to be
Hmm.
able to get exposure to some of these guys and, go head to head with them and kind of
Yeah.
like see firsthand where they're actually at with their skills and everything.
Yeah. I mean, you kind of just it puts a little bit in perspective, like, you know, A, how good they are, but like B, how good like our team is and putting up runs against them or like being in a pretty close game with them, like it makes us feel good about where we're at as a team uh going into whoever we're playing next. So
Yeah, you guys definitely were putting up some competitive at bats there in that game. So that was really cool to watch too. And with these guys too, a lot of the players, like you mentioned, that the Red Sox put out there for that game are
mhm.
prospects who are trying to work their way up to eventually get to the majors. So for them, they're still very much at the level of, I have to prove myself in this organization so I can make
Mhm.
my mark here and get up to the majors eventually. So they're in an interesting spot too. A lot of those guys who are still very much in the learning process and trying to navigate through the system.
Yeah, I mean, I think that when you have something like that, it makes like we're playing hard, and they're playing hard too because they're trying to make the team or whatever their goals are. So, you know, I think it makes for a pretty competitive game, and I've had those that going to those playing in those games probably like the best baseball experience I've ever had, and it's pretty cool to play in front of fans and they're cheering for the Red Sox, but they're also cheering for us, and it's pretty cool.
Yeah, with that Boston connection, they probably like both teams. So that's probably pretty
Hmm.
cool to see. How long were you actually down there for?
So we flew down on Thursday and played the game on Friday against the Red Sox, and then played a Saturday Sunday series with the University of Minnesota at one game at JetBlue and one game at the Twins stadium. I think it's like Lee County Stadium over there, and then flew home that night. So like
Oh, wow, pretty quick
three and a
turnaround.
half, 4 days.
Yeah, right. I was gonna say, so you didn't get to enjoy much of that Florida weather and being down
No,
there for
no,
a long time,
no.
unfortunately. That would have been nice. But at least, like I said, it's getting warmer up in this area.
Hmm.
But now that you're, in season and everything, I don't know how much you're actually really going to be in the Boston area. Because I would imagine that, do you travel places during the season that are far away a lot?
Um,
Or is it more
I
like local
guess
teams?
it's we travel for like conference games and stuff like that on the weekends for weekend series. So like we'll go down south or something like that if they're on our schedule. But we have a good amount of home games coming up. So we just had our home opener on Tuesday. So it's nice to get out there and be out in the the atmosphere of being at home and actually have the weather cooperate a little bit.
Yeah, because it certainly was not cooperating last week and with all the rain that we got, so that was tough. But yeah, I know obviously being a catcher is such a challenging position, probably the hardest position to play in baseball. So for you, what was it that kind of made you be like, okay, I want to be a catcher, like that's what I want to pursue?
um, I don't know. Like when I was younger, I used to play like pretty much all the positions. Like I played outfield, I played shortstop, I pitched. I kind of did everything but catch. And then um, I turned 13, and the field got bigger, and I didn't get faster. So they said, why don't we stick you in foul territory? And then I never went back into fair territory. So
That's funny. Yeah, no, it's definitely probably a fun position to play because it certainly keeps you on your toes. Like there's so much you
mhm.
have to be aware of during the game. What would you say is the most challenging part about being a catcher?
um, I think it's like the physical endurance as well as just like being able to stay mentally sharp in like all aspects of the game. Because like one of the things I always tell you is you're the only one facing the field, so you see everything and you're leading in, commanding what's going on. Um, so I think like being able to handle like catching like on a consistent basis, like with legs and strength and conditioning, as well as like when you're actually in there, being alert and um, making good decisions and leading the team the right way. I think that like combined is probably the hardest part of the position.
Yeah, it's always interesting watching catchers out there because they have to be aware of so much more than everybody else that's on the field. So it could be
Hmm.
super tough. I feel like to be in that spot because there's probably so much pressure during a game when you're in that position of being like, okay, I have to be the one who's aware of literally everything that's going on right now.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of stuff that like goes into like the flow of the game and like how like the pitchers are holding runners versus um like like when the balls hit to the outfield and the throws are coming in, like where are they going? So I think that like being like having that control is something that I like about the position. Like I think that um I kind of grew into that more as I started getting older. But I think it's definitely a lot of pressure and it's challenging to have that type of I guess power over what's going on. So
Well, catchers usually make good team leaders because of that too, because you're
mhm,
just so aware of everything going on, And even with Jason Varitek, like who we mentioned earlier, I was like, wow, he'd be a great Red Sox manager because, like, as a catcher, he just has so much knowledge of the game, and naturally, personality-wise, catchers are just natural leaders too.
mhm. Yeah, I would love to see Veritek. I mean, and he's on the coaching staff now, but I don't think they should get rid of him anytime soon.
No, they definitely need somebody like him in there. He knows the atmosphere at Fenway and he just knows what it's like to play in Boston. And he's just
Hmm.
great for some of those younger guys on the team. So they definitely should keep him around for sure. I love Varitek. He's one of my favorites too. And I mean, during that Red Sox game, you almost threw somebody out. So that was pretty cool. I was like, oh, what an arm he has on him too.
Yeah, I was close, but it was a little too fast.
It was a good throw. I was like, wow, this is definitely some good stuff that he's displaying here.
Yeah, I mean, it was a good attempt, but he stole the base, so.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's definitely like a challenging thing to be completely in sync too with your second baseman
Mm,
or shortstop and whoever's covering second at the time and be like, okay, yeah, like this it's like spot on. Like it has to be like a perfect throw, perfect catch, and then a perfect tag, you know?
yeah, it all has to work out, and I was like whatever half second slow or so.
Yeah, it's definitely the timing needs to be right there. And that's something I feel like that not every catcher is effective in. Like I've seen
Hmm.
catchers who just are not good at being able to throw runners out. They just don't have that rhythm uh, on them. And that's why it goes back to how challenging being a catcher is because there's so many different skills that you have to like have in your pocket in order to be a
Hmm.
successful catcher.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, there's a lot of things that go into like just not only like doing something well, but also doing it like consistent enough to play the position. So like there's probably a lot of people who go back there and like can catch the ball, but actually like making it look good is something you have to work on. And um, I think it just takes a lot of work to like hone in all those things.
Yeah, it really does. And obviously, another thing about being a catcher too is just having to be really in sync with your pitcher,
Mm,
and knowing, like what works for him to throw here, what doesn't work, and kind of knowing what his best pitches are. And so how do you handle situations where like your pitcher might be starting to lose a little bit of their command of the plate or they're kind of like starting to like get a little bit sloppy, they're giving up some base runners and they're you can tell they're kind of a little like rattled out there on the mound because that obviously does happen sometimes during a pitcher's outing.
yeah, I mean, I think one of the good ways of getting them back in the zone is like finding something that they're able to throw at that point in time. So like maybe their best pitch is their fastball and they usually throw it a lot for strikes, but today for whatever reason they're not, like maybe finding a slider or a changeup that they can get in the zone and just kind of start building some confidence back in what they're doing, I think is important. Or even if you're seeing like for instance, like in a lineup they have like two or three lefties in a row and the pitcher's throwing all um fastballs up for balls, like getting them an adjustment where maybe it's just a visual, like instead of trying to work away, you get them in and trying to get them back in the zone, finding some way to get them to make an adjustment both physically and mentally to get them confidence to keep attacking people.
Yeah, because it can be tough. And I've noticed too, just from watching all these Red Sox games over the years, is like a pitcher will tend to change their approach sometimes or like slow down their pace a lot if they have base runners on, as opposed to if the bases are empty. And it's always
Mhm.
interesting to me that they, the catcher does a little mound visit, they talk, and then they go back, and then he just kind of slows down a little bit if he does have somebody on base. So I've always found those types of situations to be interesting too, because I'm like, oh, I wonder what the catcher actually said to him
Yeah.
during this little meeting here, you know?
Yeah, I think the pace of the game is something that, I like the natural flow is something I actually miss with the pitch clock. I don't I
Yeah.
like when everyone gets to do what they want to do at their own pace. But yeah, the mound visits always are a good way to get out there and slow things down and, you know, just gave up a double or something, go out there and just have a talk and kind of reset them, give them a breather and then get back to throwing strikes. So
Yeah, the pitch clock definitely creates like an interesting way to, add to the game. And I get
Hmm.
it's kind of a way for them to try to speed up the game a little bit, but do you feel like it significantly throws off pitchers in terms of their routine and the way that they're able to, be successful on the mound?
No, I don't think it like throws anything off. I mean, this year, I feel like last year the pitch clock, at least in college, was implemented, but not everywhere had like a visible pitch clock. So sometimes it was more just like a mental clock for the umpire. But this year, everywhere we've played so far, has like a visible pitch clock. So I think that it's becoming a little more like well known this year. I don't think it like throws off the pace of the game. I think it does actually do what it's intended to do. I just like always miss like, oh, it's that big moment and you want to take that step out and kind of just recollect yourself, or someone wants to take a walk around the mound and you have the opportunity to do it if you want it. I always think that that's like cool to see how someone uh like handles those moments.
Yeah, especially in like a high stakes game, if the
Hmm.
bases are loaded and your team is up by 1 run or something, and you're that guy
Yeah.
who could close out that game, like sometimes you want to take that step off and be like, okay, like this is a big moment for me, like what am I gonna do? Like how am I gonna approach this situation? And it's
Hmm.
it's always interesting that, that's just not as much of a thing anymore because of this pitch clock.
Yeah. I mean, it's like I miss like when you watch like old like postseason games and like it's getting down to the end of the game and like it's like 20, 30 seconds in between every pitch and like the tension's just like building. But I understand the people who want the pitch clock. I actually do think it does what it's intended to do. So
Yeah, it's interesting because I've talked to so many people that have different opinions on it. Because some people
mhm,
are like, I love it. Some people are like, I hate it. And then there's kind of the in-betweeners of like, I'm indifferent on it. So it's interesting
yeah.
to kind of hear that perspective because you're, actively in it.
Hmm. No, I mean I think it's just something else to that you have to think about when you're up there, like, when you're in the box and you're trying to take your time or reset your breath or something after like a bad swing, and then the umpire's like clock, 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 and you kind of get sped up again. But um, I think that like the longer it's in there, the more people will get used to it. So
Yeah, it's one of those things that it's like the more that it's there, the more like eventually people are going to just forget that it's there and not even
mhm,
think about it. It's just kind of there is that period of time where people have to be are like, oh, I have to get used to this, you know.
yeah,
So it's definitely one of those things, just like anything else, really.
yeah. I
It'll come
think
naturally.
the college one is definitely a little different than the MLB one. The MLB one, like I know people have like strategies for like when they want to use their timeout or things like that. Like in college, you don't really get like a timeout in at bat, so it's a little different. Um, like it's harder to build a strategy, I think, on like how you want to use it.
Yeah, absolutely. That's interesting. It's definitely a different approach, probably that pitchers take than they do at the major league level because of
Yeah.
that. It'd be interesting to kind of like watch a game back to back, like a college game and then an MLB game,
Hmm.
and just kind of see like the differences between how the pitchers approach everything.
Yeah, I think like in the MLB, it's more like you can kind of see the pitch clock and how people are utilizing it, like whether they're like going really quick or really slow, like compared to the regular pace. Whereas like I think if you watch a college game, it's just everything's just going at the same pace and the hitter's in, the pitcher's on the rubber, and like they're going. So
Yeah, no, it's so interesting, and it almost makes it more intense too, uh,
mhm,
which is definitely fun. Like I think it creates a more of a sense of oh, like I want to see this because it makes this moment more intense.
yeah.
Because baseball definitely can have like slow moments, and I have friends who are like, I don't want to watch a baseball game, like it's too slow and boring, which is totally not me because baseball is my favorite sport, and like I watch 162 Red Sox games a year, so like it's not something that I get bored of. But like I do see why some people might, and I do think having the pitch clock implemented could make some more like of the casual fans who aren't as much into baseball, but will watch it here and there, maybe want to watch it a little bit more because it kind of ups the intensity a little bit.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, like I said, I think that it does what it's intended to do. So like it's meant to speed up the game, and I think it does. And I think that if that's what people like, that's what it takes to get people to watch and grow the sport. I think that it's a good thing. And like over time, it'll just become part of the game, you know?
Yeah, nobody will even remember that we had this type of conversation because it'll just be like such a natural thing at that point. But
Mhm,
I did want to ask you about like, the offensive side of the ball. When you're stepping up to the plate, like, if it's a day where maybe you're struggling at the plate or you just can't find a way to like make contact, like mentally, how do you kind of get through those types of days where you just might have, because sometimes that does happen. You might go
mhm.
like 0 for 3 or something like that, and it just isn't a good day for you. Like, how do you get through that?
I think like one of the things that helps me is like getting back to what can I do like now to help the team. So like in whatever situation I came up before and it didn't go my way, and like what I wanted to do, I think just like getting recentered on like what does a team need out of me right now, I think helps like take the pressure off myself to like get a hit or like whatever it is, and just worry about like doing something productive. So whether it's like a sac fly or getting a guy over from second base with nobody out, um, or just hitting the ball hard somewhere, and um, I think that recentering yourself on like what the bigger picture is in that situation, the game is a way to like kind of feel like the pressure's off yourself a little bit.
Yeah, like taking it one at bat at a time and being
Mhm.
like, okay, like what can I do this time that I'm up that,
Yeah.
could put my team in a position to win this game.
Definitely. I mean, like it takes a lot of quality at bats to win a game, and like winning games is hard. So like when you focus on like putting in a collective effort like as a team and focusing on what the team needs at that moment, I think that is a good way of like recentering yourself on like the job that needs to be done.
Yeah, baseball's such a mental sport too. I feel like there's just so many things that players can get in their heads about. It could be a
Mhm.
long season and just, teams go through ups and downs as a team and players individually go through ups and downs. I mean, Rafael Devers obviously is, like the face of the Red Sox franchise right now.
Yeah.
And even he has his days where he just can't do anything at the plate and he just can't connect. And it's frustrating. He gets visibly frustrated during those
Mhm.
days. But I feel like one of the biggest challenges with making it to that level is you have to be able to get through those mental setbacks and be able to tell yourself, like, okay, on to the next type thing. And I feel like baseball in particular is such a tough sport emotionally for that.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely has given me my fair share of um, ups and downs. So I think that like just being able to stay like centered and like focused on um, staying consistent in whatever you're doing. So like you find like a routine that works, and like even if you're struggling for a couple games in a row or something, like just maintaining that routine um and like what and knowing that what that does for you and like how that made you good, I think is important. Like just getting out of those little funks or slumps or whatever.
Yeah, no, because those slumps can last a while too, and I've seen it happen
Mhm.
with the Red Sox, obviously, because they play so many games during the season too, that nobody's going to be perfectly on point every single game. And I
Yeah.
feel like it's harder with pitchers too, because if a pitcher has a bad day, they have to wait until their next outing to make up for that. Whereas at least if you're a position player, you could play again the next game and kind of bounce back from that, and it's fine. But I've always been like, wow, if you're a starting pitcher in the majors, you have to wait another 5 days until you can kind of make up for that. So you have to sit with that bad outing if you just didn't have it that day. And that's definitely got to be tough in between.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, that like the waiting is probably the hardest part. So uh, I agree with that. I don't know what I'm never been a pitcher past little league, so I have no idea how that pressure is, but I'm sure that there's a lot.
Yeah, it's definitely probably tough for them as well. How do you kind of keep up with your skills during the off season? Like, what does your off season routine actually consist of and look like?
I think that like it's important to like get a well-rounded um week in. Like I always take it like week by week and like what I'm doing that week compared to anything else. And I usually lift like 4 days and do conditioning on and like mobility on the fifth, and then hitting. I'll take swings 6 days a week, and like whatever um, I'm working on, like whether it's like hitting velocity or curveballs or sliders, things like that, and trying to mix it up enough where I don't get like repetitive in what I'm doing. Because like in the Northeast, it's hard because you're inside, so it's easy to like formulate a swing that looks good inside but doesn't actually um, play when you get out and like are facing a real pitcher. So like I've had that happen to me before where like I feel really good in the off season and then we'll have a tough start because what I was doing was too tailored to being inside, and then I have to make adjustments during the season. Um, so I think like giving yourself a good variety of like whatever you're seeing is good. And then like defensively, I try to catch as many bullpens as I can, um, and just keeping that awareness and like uh, staying used to like the speed of catching pitching and like the randomness of it instead of just like catching a machine all the time. So I think that like giving yourself like a well-rounded uh week is like what I like to focus on in the off season.
Yeah, that's interesting to think about too, because you don't always think about sometimes like how different it actually is when you're playing inside. It's just not
Hmm.
the same, I feel like. And obviously, Dave works with kids inside, like doing the individual hitting lessons with them, and even like his team right now, the high school team is practicing inside some of the days, like until they kind of officially start the season, and then they'll be outside
Hmm.
more. But I have to imagine it's just a different type of workout that they're doing, and it's just different technique, and it looks different probably.
Yeah, I mean it's different when you can get outside and like see the ball off the bat and like where it actually is going. So like you can think you crushed one and then you get out there and it's like 200 feet from the fence. But if you were in a cage, you would have been like, oh, that's a home run. So like I think that having that kind of idea of like what you're actually looking for result wise and how that like how what you're doing to like feed into that, I think is important.
Yeah, no, that's definitely good to kind of know too, because you just have to be able to make those adjustments so that you're ready for when the season starts. And so what does the rest of the season look like for you now? Like, what does kind of the next few months entail?
I mean, we're starting like midweek games now, so it's usually like Monday is off and we go to class and get whatever like recovery or extra lift that you want in, and then Tuesday and Wednesday are either practice or a scheduled game. Usually it's like a more local game for a midweek since it's like a 1 day trip. Uh, and then Thursday will either be travel and practice, or if it's an away series, or just practice if it's home. And then Friday, Saturday, Sunday will be our weekend series. A majority of the ones we have left are conference series. So um, whether that's home or away, uh, depends on the week. and then repeat every week. So
It's a lot of travel and a lot of
yeah.
time for sure that that goes into it.
hmm
You're probably
So
exhausted by the end of every week.
yeah, I mean that take advantage of that Monday off, and maybe take a nap or two in there. So it's important to like stay on top of everything, and like making sure all your schoolwork and stuff is done. Like uh, even when you're on the road is important.
I was going to say, is it tough for you to balance the schoolwork aspect with the baseball?
Yeah, I mean it's just like another thing that you have to focus on. So like you're focusing on the team and your like performance and staying in shape and eating and sleeping and all that, but then you also got to make sure that your school's is included in those priorities too. So it's just like another thing that you have to focus on, and make sure that you're doing the things you're supposed to do on time.
I feel like it almost forces you to be more structured if you're playing a
hmm
sport in college. Like you have to be very routine based and be like, okay, I have this time period during the day to get this done, and then I have to do this and then do this. So I almost feel like if you're an athlete, it kind of like almost more enforces that idea of making sure that you're sticking to that routine as opposed to if you weren't an athlete and you kind of had more downtime.
Yeah, I mean, it's like your day's pretty much structured every day. So, you have to get really good at time management, and that's something that you have to like learn along the way, and like how you like to manage your time. So, like getting up earlier versus right before you have to do something is like a decision you have to make every day, and making sure that you're giving yourself time to like eat or uh, go do something extra that you want to do. I mean, it's a lot of things back to back with class, lift, practice, study hall, all that stuff, and then making sure that you get to have fun in there too, and you're not just getting burnt out. Like you're a college kid, and you got to like go hang out with friends, or you know go to a restaurant or something, like just to break up that routine. But time management is something that's really important that I've learned from being a college athlete. So,
Yeah, you definitely want to make sure that you're enjoying your college experience too, because you
mhm,
can't get that back. You know, it's
yeah,
that college experience like flies by like that, and then like before you know it, it's over.
yeah. I mean, you're doing baseball like 6 days a week. Like you got to have something in there that breaks that up. It's challenging to just like do it every day with just baseball being the main focus. So even if it's just like going over and hanging out with a couple people and doing something different, I think it is important.
Yeah, that's definitely because we all need time to, like take ourselves out of our daily routine and what's going on and kind of find ways to like de-stress and kind of do other things that are fun. So it's good that you
Mhm.
try to make time for that as well, because I feel like some people could forget about that aspect of it.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it's easy to like get wrapped up in what you're doing, and you know, doing baseball every day, and or finding something to do like is is important, and that's how like you develop your skill set, but also having like the awareness to do something different and like give your mind a rest is important as well.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, and you mentioned it already, but this is your senior year. So like what does things look like for you now? Like what are your plans for after college?
I'm working an internship this summer. At Northeastern, we do they have a co-op program, so you get to work for a semester, which I did this fall. Um, so I
Wow.
worked,
Talk about
yeah,
adding something else to your already busy schedule.
yeah. So I didn't take classes this fall. I did co-op, and I worked a 9 to 5 for the whole fall semester. So I'm going back to that company and doing an internship in the summer, and then I have one more semester of school left, so I'll have one more semester of school with no baseball. So I don't know what I'm gonna do, and I have a lot of free time.
I was gonna say too, at least when you were doing that co-op, it wasn't during baseball season, so
Mm,
it was probably more manageable to be able to like fit that in. It would have been you literally couldn't have done it this semester.
no, no, they don't let us do it in the spring. So like at as a baseball athlete, if you're gonna do co-op, you have to do it in the fall. So I think that it was a great opportunity, and um, I definitely learned so much from doing it, and really enjoyed like working and getting that experience, which is something I never had before. Um, but I could not imagine doing it in the season. So it's a good
So
they don't let us
you
do it.
wouldn't have had time. You just would not have
Yeah,
had time to do that. Like that would have been
yeah.
way too much
Someone
for
would be
you.
unhappy, whether it's my boss or the coach. So
Yeah, somebody. Yeah, and probably you because you'd just be exhausted.
yeah,
Uh,
that's true.
but yeah, that's good. It's good that you're getting that experience because experience is definitely important when you're going out and thinking about what you want to do as a career. So it's good that they're
Mhm.
giving you that opportunity to be able to do that and just kind of get hands-on experience and get a sense of what it might be like to work in that field.
Yeah, I mean it's something that I hadn't really had an opportunity to do like growing up or like throughout my college career because I've always been playing summer ball. So like coming to Northeastern, I thought that was like unique to be able to get that experience, and then now being able to like continue it after my season is over in the summer. I think will be a really good opportunity for me.
Absolutely, yeah. That's great that you're kind of maximizing your experience and also being an athlete. You just have so much going for you. So you definitely probably understand, the hard work part and just being motivated and that definitely all comes with being an athlete too. So even in a work setting, you'll just naturally bring, those characteristics into a work environment.
Yeah, I more was like I wanted something to do because I didn't want to just like sit at home and like not know what to do since I'm not going to be playing anymore. So I was like, well, I guess I'll work. Like I don't, and
What
something
else
to
is
fill
there to
my
do?
day up.
Yeah, right. I don't want to just be stuck at home. That would drive you crazy, probably. Like
Yeah,
just
so
being
like
just
I
sitting
said,
at
my day's
home.
been scheduled for like 4 years now. Like so it's just been scheduled from when I wake up to when I go to bed. So I'm like, I guess I'll just do. I need something to fill the time, so why not work?
Yeah, right. What advice would you give to younger kids who are, maybe in high school in the process of trying to get recruited to play college baseball?
um, I think just like the advice I would give is to just keep working hard. Like, don't get discouraged if like you go to a camp and you don't hear back from the coach, or you go to a prospect event and you don't hear something from someone. And like just continuing to like be consistent and you know trying to outwork the other people in the room like is how you get to the next level. And when it does come time to like make a decision like college wise or like whatever decision you're trying to make, just go somewhere that like has more than just the baseball that you're looking for. So like don't go somewhere just because it's Division 1 and it doesn't have your major and you don't like the campus. Like go somewhere that has everything that you want, that like is going to give you the best opportunity to like grow as a person.
Yeah, that's great advice too, because I know Dave has mentioned that also, just kind of he likes to tell the kids like you want to like everything else about the school too,
Mhm.
not just the baseball part, because you want to be happy also as a college student, not just as an athlete.
Yeah, I mean, I think that like some of the like one of the better sayings that like I've heard is like go somewhere that like if you weren't playing baseball, you would be happy, and like if you were just a student at the school, like you would enjoy yourself. And I think that that's like a good thought process because like for what like you get injured and you're sitting around for a year. Like, you don't want to be miserable at this school that you don't like, that because you're not playing because you're hurt, but you're you're just there, um, rehabbing or whatever. And I think that like going to a school that you actually like and are passionate about going there, like can help um, just make your college experience better.
Yeah, you never know. I mean, the future is unknown, and so
Mhm.
like you mentioned, like anything could happen at any time. So if you enjoy the school, at least you can kind of be happy with your experience, even if the baseball
Yeah.
just doesn't end up working out for whatever reason.
I mean, there's a lot of elements to college that like it's not just sports or school. Like there's a lot of stuff that goes into like making a well-rounded college experience. So like going somewhere that you really feel that you can have a well-rounded college experience, I think is important, as well as finding a place that like you actually like can compete at and will have a role on the team and be a contributor.
Yeah, no, that's definitely great advice. And I'm definitely gonna be having Dave send this to his high school players, especially the ones that are in the recruiting process right now, because I definitely think that they should listen to that. But
Mhm.
it was this was great. It was awesome, having you on here and getting some perspective on your experience and talking about this sport that we both love. So I definitely appreciate you taking the time today.
Yeah, thank you for having me on. This is great. I've never been on a podcast before, so I thought this was pretty cool. And I appreciate you giving me the opportunity to come on and talk about a bunch of different stuff. So
Yeah, for sure. This was awesome. I definitely wish you the best of luck with the rest of your season. I know I'll be following your season here moving forward. So uh I wish you the best of luck with that for sure.
thank you. Yeah, I'll hope to come when I get back to Connecticut. I'll be sure to swing by and say hi to Dave and you as well. So
Yeah, definitely for sure. We'll be here. And we'll definitely maybe we can try to catch one of your games coming up here because obviously we're not that far from Boston. So
mhm.
we can look at the schedule and kind of see if we can try to come up there, watch one of your
Yeah, that'd
games.
be great.
But thank you. I really appreciate it. And as always, everybody, thanks so much for tuning in to the show. Enjoy this beautiful spring like weather. Take care and I'll catch you next time.